Welcome, friends, to another episode on the Melted Wax podcast. I am your host, DPC. You find me at Instagram at PC with DPC. I am actually heading in a new direction. I think from now on there will be no more of the DPZ show. I'm making a change, an executive decision to move to the title of Melted Wax Podcast. I think that that's the podcast that I have, my own YouTube channel. Graciously, I have Dustin here, who allows me to yammer on his channel, which I'm so grateful for. So we're just going to start calling this installment on the Dustin's channel, the Melted Wax Podcast. So we'll talk about I'll talk about different topics, have different guests on, like as normal. Nothing really changes. It's just the name. So a little bit on brand, hopefully. Something I did want to talk about was that was top of mind was I feel like there's been a lot of conversation about investors and collectors. This is a topic that has been drummed into the ground. The horse has been beaten, all of it. I mean, it seems like it's been an evergreen topic since the rebirth, the surge of new collectors and investors coming into the hobby space about 5 years ago. And I have an answer to that. I'm going to come right out and say it. I don't think there are collectors. I don't think there are investors. I think we're all hobbyists. My hope would be that's the term we use moving forward, not collectors, not investors, but hobbyists, because hobbyists can, you can tie that into anything. If you think about people that collect trains, I highly doubt there's people that are arguing within that space of who's a collector and who's an investor on the train front. I could be wrong. I guess tell me I'm wrong in the comments if I'm wrong. But my thought would be that everybody just enjoys trains and collecting trains and putting train sets together and landscapes together and all of that stuff. And they're all called hobbyists. They're train hobbyists. And the hobby store is labeled as a hobby store. I know we have hobby boxes. Think about what we call the box that we rip and open. My son just here recently excuse me, was just ripping into a Marvel What If box. He really enjoys Marvel. So, picked up a box for him at the local LCS here in Tacoma, and he was able to rip open a bunch of packs, found a lot of really cool cards. But it was a hobby box. It was a hobby box because he's a hobbyist. I'm a hobbyist. We love cards. Some people love different things, and it's all within that hobby realm. Are some of these cards going to be an investment grade quality card? No. Are some of them, a lot of them, going to be just stuff you just enjoy and have fun with, or maybe throw away? Possibly. Can some be potentially valuable? Yeah. And I guess when you talk about that, that's the investment portion of it. That's the investment aspect of cards. Otherwise, if you're coordinating ourselves off to this camp and this camp, well, then who are we really? So let's break down our hobby. In my opinion, I'm going to give you my opinion of what our hobby looks like in the different layers of our hobby. If you peel back the onion, so to speak, the different segments of our hobby. And I'll start with the most base segment, the segment that I think basically holds every other segment up. It is the old school classic card collector in the hobby, the card collector hobbyist. This is the guy or gal who puts cards into a binder, who still uses the top loaders, maybe even has raw boxes and rows of boxes that are filled with the raw cards. He's a set collector, just trying to find that last card for the 1983 top set, or it's a Star Wars set, or a Marvel set, or whatever you want to, whatever, anything, whatever card TCG. They collect the cards. They enjoy having the cards, the raw cards, and they put them in the top loaders. They put them in the penny sleeves, and they rarely grade. They probably don't grade. They probably have all these different feelings about grading. And that's the base. I believe that's the base. They don't talk about their cards, probably don't even watch any of these shows of us goofballs talking about cards. They're not content creators. They don't probably even have an IG account. There might be on Blowout. They may not be on Blowout. They're in the card shops. People don't even know they exist, but they exist, and they hold the hobby up from the ground up. I think these are the most important people. They're the quietest people. And there's a part of me that wants to be more like these people, even though as I sit here as a hypocrite talking about it on this channel and talking about it on my podcast, I do think there's a value to not talking about yourself and not talking about how many people listen to you or care about what you think, but just enjoying the hobby and just being a part of it. That's kind of my New Year's resolutions. I just want to be a part of the hobby. I don't want to be an important part. I can be an unimportant part. I don't even care. It doesn't matter to me. I don't take myself that seriously. I love to just learn about the hobby. I love the back and forth, the conversations that we can have with one another, learning, growing. I don't know everything. I don't know everything within my job and my hobby as a person, as a human being, as a Christian. I don't know any. I'm still learning, growing and learning. So in the hobby space, that's still the case. I'm still learning and growing. So I like that layer. I like that foundation that we have because those folks usually have the most knowledge. They're usually the ones that know everything. They're not the gatekeepers, but they kind of hold the key to all the knowledge and a lot of what we understand. You kind of have to learn through there to kind of appropriately graduate into different levels of understanding in the hobby. And these folks are wonderful. You have to find them and seek them out. And again, they're usually not loud. They're not proud. They're not telling everybody how smart they are. They're just people that you know exist. And if you find one, you're lucky enough to find one. Consider yourself lucky and blessed and learn all you can. Ask all the questions you possibly can. They're very unassuming, but they're the base layer of our hobby. The second layer of our hobby, the hobbyists, the second layer of our hobbyists, I believe are the hardcore collectors. These collectors they grade some, then sometimes they don't. They kind of like the top loaders for certain cards, but they will grade. And these are the most this group of hobbyists are they have very strong opinions on grades, grading, how many times you crack and resub, whether that's cheating or not, whether you should be doing it. Um, they're going to be very vocal about trimming, about altering, what true cards are, what the true rookie card really is an XRC really a rookie card now? The rookie card's the rookie card and it's the first flagship, or they're going to be, but they're also going to be like loaded with knowledge, armed with knowledge and experience. They know their stuff. They've been doing it for years. They've got this community that's around them that get it too. And then even when they disagree with one another, there's still this like cordialness. Like you're in this group, we can disagree with each other, but if someone else tries to come in and disagree with us or tries to tell us what's going on, then you guys all attack, like you'll come in and you just devour that person. They run away. I don't want to be a part of that group anymore, because you're very intense, but you're also very supportive of one another. Your community, that group you're in, is very important and it matters. That is an important group within the hobby community as well. I think that as a hobbyist, you're a certain hobbyist that kind of keeps the ebb and flow. You sort of these things matter to you. There's these cardinal rules, the tribal knowledge that matters, and these things are important because people like me come in and we learn from you. We don't ask you questions because you kind of don't really want us asking you questions, but you might respond. Some of you might just like scoff at us when we ask you these questions. We're just such novices, but some of you will still engage, and we're so grateful for that, because you do know what you're talking about, and you don't want to overstep, and I don't want to push too hard sometimes, but boy, we have so many questions. But you also want people to go do their own homework. One reason why I feel like you want people to do their own homework and due diligence and learn and ask not just one person, but multiple people, is because you want them to actually have some ownership and skin in the game. Put some time in. We put our time in and we did the same thing. We kind of came through the same process. It's kind of like paying your dues in the hobby. I think a lot of folks have done that in the past. And I think you think about that with work. People want to pay their dues to get to that next level. Well, you got to go work and do this and then do this and then do this before you get to enjoy this level of success, this position, or this place in the hobby, or this knowledge of what you know in the hobby. It takes a long time. It doesn't happen overnight. And please, God forbid, do not create some podcast talking about how you're an expert in cards when you haven't been doing it that long. I guess I'm kind of guilty in that, but I feel like I'm hopeful that people have seen that I've brought on people like that to talk about the things that and educate everybody, because I'm sure as heck I'm not going to do that because I don't have that background. So I try to find those people to have that background. I know some people will disagree with me, as I know you're fine. You don't downplay yourself, but I just remain humble in this space. I think there's so much to learn. There's a lot I don't know. And I still think there's a lot of people that do know. Sorry, a little email popping out there. I still think there's people that do know, and those people are people that we want to continue to highlight and continue to give a voice and a platform so that we can educate those that may not be don't have the courage or just don't have the time to ask those questions. Well, then they can just click on a show and watch and learn about a new set, about the hobby, about where people came from, and as you piece together everybody's journey and what they've learned and what they do and what they currently do, you start to get a pretty good picture of what the hobby and the whole hobby space is like. So these people are critical, they're important, but they're very guarded, and so they're difficult. But you can find these people. These people are usually on blowout forums. They are on Instagram sometimes. They share a lot of stories. They're very convicted. You'll likely not convince them of your opinion, and that's okay. I think that's it's part of the hobby experience, and it's part of the hobby, the layers. So these are good people. The next layer, these folks are like the collectors, but they're the watchdogs. These are Dan the Card Man, AIH. You got these people that are very passionate about making sure things are done right. Integrity matters. All these things matter. Ethos pitch. A lot of folks like that kind of watch and make sure people are acting accordingly. There's no nefarious activity, things of that nature. You want to they and I think deep down they just want things to be done right. They care about things being done right. That matters to them. There's a value there. Anyway, yeah, those are all. So they're very important people to the hobby space. Dan the Card Man is I consider a friend, and he's a great guy, wonderful person. Like, just cares. He's very eloquent. I mean, he's an auditor. He's by nature he cares about T's being crossed and I's being dotted. Terms and policies and conditions. I mean, all these things matter. We need to order. We need to have authenticity and transparency. Things need to be seen. And there's a lot of folks like that. I'm just listing like a handful that I'm aware of and know, and I'm not sure so many of them just because my circle's probably not as big as it could be. I'm sure there's many more of you out there that do that. And for that, I applaud. I think that's an important part of the hobby. It makes it kind of everything go, right? So you're sort of called the hobby watchdogs, the police. And I think it is important. It's not just one person that we all look to. I think there's a handful of people that are doing it and doing great work. And that's a great thing. There might be people doing that kind of work that no one knows about. And it's through like forums and different DMs and things of that, where things come to light. And I think our hobby is really great about giving credit where credit's due when it comes to that. So, the self-governing, the self-regulation, that part of the hobby is great. I think those folks are usually longer term collectors, people that have been doing it for a while and know what they're talking about, know what they're doing. They have great knowledge base. So they can speak with credibility. And people within that, especially that, the hardcore collectors and, the set collectors, the base layer, like the real, foundation, those two groups respect the heck out of these guys for the most part, because they know they're trying to keep true what's true. These three groups I just mentioned usually have a lot of frustration for the people that are like brand new to the hobby, that might be, maybe overstepping or saying they know stuff or they don't know stuff, or maybe just folks that are just making mistakes, whether they're meaning to make them or not, whether it's intentional or not. They then tend to be the most critical, and it's a really difficult. They just have not less patience for that group. And I understand that, because maybe you've been in this for a long time and you see folks come in all of a sudden. And if these people that come in all of a sudden claim to know more than you or other people, and might be leading people astray, that could be very frustrating. And I think that group really feels passionately about that. I don't know if it's necessarily misled. Some will disagree with me on that, but I personally don't think it's misled. I think there's good intentions there. But again, there's infighting within every one of these groups too. So that's kind of really hard to find a common ground. But for the most part, I think that the intentions there's well intended. They're all well intended. Okay, so now we kind of layer that on. So we've got the foundation, the set collectors, the raw only. You don't even know they exist. They go to the card shop in the middle of the night, or when the latest hour when no one's there, or they try to find the time on Google that says the least people are there, and that's when they go. Or they just order online. They don't even want to see anybody. So then you have your hardcore collectors that are just well versed. They know everything. They're very unified, and then you have your hobby police, your watchdogs that are like the next layer. And then after that, I feel like it gets kind of interesting, because after that, then you get into more of the new blood. So the next layer, I'd like to consider myself part of. And I'll explain why. I like to collect. I love to collect cards. I enjoy cards. I also love to kind of speculate a little bit. And this other group down below, they're not necessarily your speculators. The hobby watchdogs might do a little bit of it, but the hardcore collectors, they're not speculating. They're almost laughing at people that are speculating, going, why are you spending money on this guy when you can go get this guy for way cheaper, and he's a Hall of Famer. He's got this great career, and they have like great points. So they kind of like, I don't know why you're just setting money on fire. What are you doing? And then so then you got the, this next layer I'm talking about now where I feel like I'm in. I mean, yeah, I like to kind of speculate. It makes it fun. It's kind of enjoyable to see, a player that's playing right now. You sort of have, it's like you have skin in the game for an NBA game or an NHL game or an NFL game or a Major League Baseball game. It's kind of fun to have, or even soccer. You have a current player that you can kind of watch and enjoy, and it creates a new excitement to the sport and to the games and to collecting. So that hobbyist right there is still kind of enjoying cards, but there's also this tie to their nostalgia. So they love the cards that they grew up with, so they go collect those cards. Maybe you have a couple players that they really identify with, so they collect them hard, and they might collect them hard in the 90s. It might be the early 2000s, but no matter what, you have this like area, and then you're also changing your mind a lot and selling and buying and selling and buying and selling. I'm definitely that guy. Just changing your mind, or you're maybe just you spend a little too much, now you got to pay it off or whatever. You're just kind of going all over the place in all that. I know maybe I'm a unique person and nobody does that, and I'm the only idiot that does. Who knows? I don't know. Whatever. Who cares? The point is, you're sort of like, you have your passion, you're excited. You kind of dip your toes in both areas, but you probably dip your toes way more in the collecting. I want to buy these and collect them and hold them long term because I love them. I love the way they look. I love the provenance of the card, the backstory, the whole 9 yards. You geek out over, the Find Your Trove and the Wharf, Nick, the stuff that Adam Gray puts out, all these cool stories about the cards. That stuff is like, it's like candy to you. You can't get enough of it. It's so cool learning. And if there's podcasts, or if there's talking through sets and stuff like that, Brett at Stacking Slabs, those are really cool. Those are places you love to go because you love learning and growing, and gaining more knowledge and gaining more information, because it just feeds you, and you love to, you get excited about the rare sets, the unique stuff. So your head's a lot there, but you like to kind of dabble a little bit in the speculative. I feel like that's a group too. That group is not necessarily going to become a hobby watchdog because they kind of feel like that's not their place, but they can see themselves becoming hardcore collectors and kind of becoming their own little community of curmudgeons, so to speak. I'm sorry, I'm not calling you guys curmudgeons, but just, kind of having your own little group and caring a lot about what's going on, but not being too much. So that group is kind of that next layer. And I think there's a lot of people in that layer. I think there might be a lot of people in denial that are in that layer. And how you behave in that layer, whether you buy and sell a lot, whether you flip, whether you do, you're probably doing very minimal flipping. You're likely not buying cars and then selling them for a profit to go buy new cars, because that's probably not happening a lot anyway right now. You're most likely changing your mind and buying something else, or you're coloring up. You're never quite satisfied with your collection. So you're kind of, obviously I'm speaking a lot to this because I kind of feel like I'm in this place. So I'm speaking from my experience, but I feel like there's a lot of folks that are kind of like that. They're going, I changed my mind. I want to do this now. I'm going to take these cards that I thought I loved, but I really like, but I don't love. I can get it again someday. I'm going to consolidate those into going and getting another great card that I really want to have, that I know is hard to get, that I'm going to be way more excited about, but it means I'm going to have less cards, but that's okay. And you fight that too. You still want to have more cards. So it's this weird battle you're having all the time. So I think that little territory there captures a lot of us, and I could be wrong. Tell me in the comments below. Maybe I'm totally wrong about all of this, but that's just my hunch based on what I've been learning. I mean, I feel like there's, consolidation efforts that are going on, people that like to work with you and help you consolidate cards to go get cars. I don't think those people would be doing what they're doing if there wasn't a need for it, a desire for it, a movement for it. So I think there's a lot of us hanging out there, and a lot of us that came into the hobby recently are probably stuck right there. We're obviously not hardcore collectors yet because we haven't been in the hobby long enough to really be in that boat. We're definitely not the set collectors. We're not doing that and we may never be those people, because we kind of like the flashy. We like grading. We love the value of what the grade gives the card, but we also appreciate the provenance of the card. It matters more than the grade in some cases, because the card's so rare and it's so important. It's so iconic. It's just good to have one. We don't really care what the grade is. It could be authentic for all we care. It could be authentic altered for all we care. We just want to have one. We enjoy PMGs and all that. So I'm speaking a lot to that group because I feel like that's a majority of us. And then you have the brand new. I think you have the brand. No, sorry, not the brand new. You have the strictly. I'm just buying. I'm flipping. I have no attachment to cards. I don't really care about cards. All I care about is making money. So I think this segment is pretty small. It used to be a lot bigger, and I think a lot of those folks moved into the camp I just got done explaining for hobbyists. But now it's shrunk because you can't make money in cards like you used to. That group might have gotten in, got excited about it. They might have been in sneakers, whatever else. And now they're dipping out because there's no money to be made. These folks, but in that group, there are a few stragglers that might there to eventually end up in this other group I spoke about that love collecting, have a player they want a PC. They're kind of moving into that group, but they're still kind of hanging on to the flip game. How can I do it? Am I going to be able to make it work? There's content about it too. There's some of these content creators that are in that group, but they're not, they're not doing anything nefarious. But it's not as fun as it used to be, and I think it's shrinking. If it's, and I don't know if it's going to really be in my opinion, I don't think it's going to be a group. I think those people are either going to transition out of the hobby or they're going to transition into one of these stages. So I think when the new people that come in, which is the complete outer layer, that are just like completely brand new, have no idea what's going on, like buddies of mine that go into a card shop with me that, don't know anything about cars and I'm explaining it to them for the first time, those people, they're probably not going to be flippers because they're going to realize there's no money to be made, but they're probably just going to bypass that whole area and go right into like, I want to become a collector. I'm going to have to learn from the hardcore collector. I'm going to have to learn about all the things that what to look out for by the hobby police. And I'm not even going to know the guys at the base layer exist until you get deep enough into the hobby to know that those people do exist. You just don't know where they're at. Those people are important. And the point of this whole video, and I'm going to wrap it up with this, is that all of us need to remember that all those different segments work together as a whole to make the hobby community what it is, to make everybody work together. It's going to influence the person that doesn't know about cards, that learns about cards for the first time. That experience they have, that's making sure we all have some healthy respect for one another is going to be the key to the hobby growing and the space becoming somewhere people want to go to. Case in point, if I have to talk to my friend who has never collected cards before, but wants to get back into it, but he's coming way late to the game. He's coming in now and going, hey, tell me about this space. This is how I'd explain it to him. But what I wouldn't want to say is, yeah, watch out for this content creator. This person's, going to say these negative things about this. That would be exhausting to explain. And it's going to turn him. He's going to go, why would I want to get it's like Twitter or X on steroids. Do I really want to get involved with that? No, you don't want to. You wouldn't want to. I want to go somewhere that's going to be fun. I want to enjoy my experience. So, my hope is we all work together, understanding the importance of every layer, knowing where you're at and being okay with that, being perfectly content with that, and how you can continue to grow within wherever you're at, and appreciating and respecting where everybody else is within that sphere. So I'm going to leave you with that. I think that's the point of this whole video. I think we're all hobbyists. I think we're all hobbyists because we all, at the end of the day, love cards. We love watches. We love trains. We love, cars. We love, whatever it is, clothes, whatever it is you collect, art. We're all hobbyists when it comes to that specific thing. But there's different layers to that hobbyist. There's different kinds of hobbyists. If we all work together, if we all get along, I think the person that's coming in trying to enter that space is going to be, it's going to be a positive experience for them. It's going to be enjoyable. They're going to want to collect. They want to teach their kids to collect. And I think that's what's going to grow our hobby. Thank you for listening to me today. This is a lot of fun. I don't know if it's going to be valuable. Maybe you all completely disagree with me. Comment below. Let's have a conversation about this. Am I completely off base here? I don't know. I might not be. But again, I'm just a novice in my opinion. I'm still learning and growing. I'm so grateful that Dustin gives me an opportunity to talk on his channel with the Melting Wax podcast. I'm super grateful for all you that listen and comment and like, especially those that go over and follow me on my own page, my Melted Wax podcast page. Thank you so much. I appreciate all that support. Go out there, have fun, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you all soon.